Silence fell in the cabinet room. 15 men stared at him. Outside, 300,000 soldiers were about to die. On the table, a peace offer from Hitler. Churchill said one word: no. That word changed the fate of the world. But before he said that word, he had almost given up. Wait until you hear what happened in those 28 days, because what Churchill did next would determine whether freedom survived or died. May 10th, 1940, London. In the early hours of the morning, the phone rang. Winston Churchill, 65 years old, lit his cigar and received the news. Prime Minister Chamberlain has resigned. The King wishes to see you. Churchill went to Buckingham Palace. King George VI spoke with a hesitant expression. "Mr. Churchill, I ask you to form a government." Churchill accepted, but this was not an honor. It was a death warrant. Because that same morning, other news had arrived. Germany had attacked the Netherlands and Belgium. The Nazi Blitzkrieg, lightning war, had begun. When Churchill returned to 10 Downing Street, his wife, Clementine, was waiting. "Is it too late?" she asked. Churchill looked out the window. London's streets were calm, but across the continent, the gates of hell were opening. "Too late," he said, "but we will fight anyway." But there was something Churchill didn't know yet. His greatest enemy wasn't Hitler, it was his own cabinet. The first cabinet meeting was a disaster. The war secretary spoke. "France is collapsing. Belgium is resisting, but it won't last long." Foreign Secretary Lord Halifax added in a cold voice, "Prime Minister, we must be realistic. Britain cannot stand against Hitler alone." Churchill turned with his cigar. "So what is your suggestion, Lord Halifax?" "Negotiation, talks with Hitler through Italy." Silence. Churchill spoke slowly. "We will not surrender, never." Halifax replied with a cold smile. "I didn't say surrender. I said negotiate. Perhaps we can obtain reasonable terms." Churchill knew. Reasonable terms meant coming under Nazi domination. But the men across from him were frightened, and fear had become a weapon demanding peace. May 13th, 1940. News from France began to arrive. Bad news. Nazi tanks had passed through the Ardennes forest. The French had said impossible, but the Germans had done it. Sedan fell. Paris in panic. Churchill flew urgently to Paris. He saw French Prime Minister Paul Reynaud. "Where is your strategic reserve?" Churchill asked. Reynaud shrugged. "There is none." Churchill was shocked. "What do you mean, none?" "We've used it all, nothing left." When Churchill returned to London, he knew France was lost. The question was, how long would it hold? But what happened next was even worse than anyone imagined. On May 20th, the situation worsened. German tanks reached Amiens, then Abbeville, then the sea. The British Expeditionary Force, 300,000 soldiers, had been cut off and surrounded. They were trapped at the Belgian port of Dunkirk, their backs to the sea, Nazi tanks in front of them. Churchill descended into the war room, the underground command center beneath London. Maps hung on the walls. General Ironside spoke. "Prime Minister, our army is surrounded. If we don't conduct a rescue operation, they'll all be captured or killed. How many can we save?" Optimistic estimate, 30,000, maybe. Churchill nodded. Only 30,000 out of 300,000. The rest were lost. And if the army was lost, Britain would be defenseless. But the real battle hadn't started yet. The real battle was in the cabinet room, and it would determine everything. May 26th, 1940. The War Cabinet assembled. 5 men: Churchill, Halifax, Chamberlain, Attlee, Greenwood. Lord Halifax began to speak. Prime Minister, Mussolini is offering mediation for talks with Hitler. Churchill played with his cigar. And then? Hitler may offer reasonable terms. Perhaps he won't invade Britain. Perhaps we can keep our empire. Churchill stood up. Lord Halifax, what are Hitler's reasonable terms? Will he leave us our freedom, or will we become a puppet kingdom? Halifax remained calm. Better than dying. Those words froze the room. Former Prime Minister Chamberlain, weak, sick, but still influential, spoke. Winston, Halifax may be right. Perhaps we should negotiate. At least we'll learn what they're offering. Churchill walked to the window. Outside was London, calm, beautiful, unaware. He turned. Gentlemen, negotiating with Hitler is like negotiating with a cunning crocodile. Each piece thrown to satisfy him only whets his appetite. Halifax struck back. So what do you suggest? Fighting? 300,000 of our men are lost. France is about to fall. We have no army. What will we fight with? Churchill's voice rose. We will fight with faith. We will fight with courage. Halifax replied with a cold laugh. Faith? Courage? These don't stop tanks, Mr. Churchill. But here's what nobody in that room knew. This argument would decide the fate of the free world, and Churchill was losing. The meeting ended. No decision was made. But Churchill knew Halifax was winning. The cabinet was frightened, and fear seemed reasonable. That night, Churchill was alone with his wife Clementine. Perhaps they're right, he said quietly. Perhaps I'm destroying Britain. Clementine held his hand. You're saving Britain. I believe it. But what if I'm wrong? You're not wrong. But the next day, the most critical meeting would take place, and Churchill would have to make a choice. May 28th, 1940, War Cabinet meeting. This time it was different. Halifax had brought a document, Italy's mediation offer. Mussolini provides guarantees, Halifax said. Hitler will offer reasonable terms, no invasion, empire protected. Chamberlain nodded. Perhaps we should accept. Attlee and Greenwood, Labour Party leaders, were hesitant. They didn't speak. All eyes were on Churchill. He was 65 years old. Throughout his life he had made mistakes. The Gallipoli disaster, thousands dead, political errors. But now, here, he faced the most important decision. If he said yes, perhaps Britain would survive, but it would lose its freedom. If he said no, perhaps everything would be lost, but honor would remain. Churchill stood up. He walked to the window. The silence was heavy. Then he turned. Gentlemen, let me tell you something. If we negotiate with Hitler, whatever the terms, the result is the same: slavery. Halifax objected, but at least, Churchill raised his hand. History will judge us, and they will ask, when Britain was a great nation, was its freedom not worth it, or did it surrender out of fear? Silence. Churchill continued, I have made my choice. We will fight. On the beaches, in the streets, in the fields. We will never surrender. Halifax slammed his fist on the table. This is madness. You will destroy this nation.
Churchill looked at him. "No, Lord Halifax, I am saving this nation. You want to sell it." What happened next shocked everyone in the room. The meeting exploded. Chamberlain tried to mediate. Attlee and Greenwood supported Churchill. Finally, a vote was taken, 3-2. Churchill won. Halifax stood up, walked to the door, turned. "History will not forgive you." Churchill replied with his cigar, "History will judge me, but I will be judged with honor." But the war wasn't over yet. Now it was time to tell the people, and what Churchill said next would echo through history.
June 4th, 1940. The House of Commons was packed. MPs, press, public, everyone was waiting for Churchill. The Dunkirk evacuation had been completed. 338,226 soldiers had been saved. A miracle. But France had fallen. Britain was alone. Churchill approached the podium, the speech in his hand. His hands trembled slightly. He began to speak. "We have returned from a great battle, but we did not win a victory. Victory is won by winning wars." Silence. "The enemy will come to our shores, but we are ready." His voice rose. "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills." He paused. The entire hall held its breath. "We shall never surrender." Applause erupted. Standing ovation. Some were crying. Churchill descended from the podium. He whispered to an aide, "And if they come, we'll hit them with champagne bottles, because we have nothing else left." The aide was shocked. "You didn't tell the public that." Churchill smiled. "No, I told them hope, not truth." The Dunkirk evacuation was truly miraculous. May 26th to June 4th, 9 days. Small boats, fishing boats, yachts, civilian vessels crossed the English Channel. They reached Dunkirk beaches. Soldiers waited in lines. German planes bombed, but the evacuation continued. A fisherman later recalled, "There was fear in the soldiers' eyes, but we're British. We wouldn't leave them." 338,226 soldiers were saved. When Churchill spoke to the public, he said, "Not a victory." He was right, but it was a moral victory. The British people now knew they were alone, but they were not defeated. June to December 1940, Battle of Britain. The Luftwaffe, German Air Force, bombed London every day. Churchill went out into the streets. He visited bombed homes. He talked to people. A woman asked him, "Prime Minister, will we win?" Churchill held her hand. "Yes, because we will never give up." But there was something Churchill didn't know. His decision on May 28th hadn't just saved Britain, it had influenced America too. America, summer 1940. President Franklin D. Roosevelt was following the news. Britain was resisting. Churchill wasn't surrendering. Roosevelt told his advisor, "If Churchill had made peace, Hitler would have taken all of Europe. Then he'd come for us. But Churchill is fighting. We must help him." In September 1940, America sent Britain 50 old destroyers, the Destroyers for Bases Agreement. This was the beginning. In 1941, Lend-Lease, weapons and supplies aid. December 1941, Pearl Harbor, America entered the war. Churchill's no decision on May 28, 1940, had created a domino effect. Britain resisted. Hitler couldn't take Britain. America helped Britain. The Soviets resisted. Germany fought on two fronts. D-Day became possible. The Nazis were defeated. If Churchill had said yes, perhaps Britain would have survived but lost its freedom. Perhaps America wouldn't have entered the war. Perhaps Hitler would have remained permanent in Europe. Perhaps all of history would have changed. May 1945, Nazi Germany surrendered. Churchill went out on the balcony. London streets were filled with people, applause, tears, joy. But Churchill was tired. 5 years of war, 5 years of stress. In July 1945, elections were held. Churchill lost. The people loved him, but now peacetime leadership wanted someone else. Churchill wasn't surprised. They wanted me to win the war. Now it's over. In 1965, Winston Churchill died. He was 90 years old. World leaders attended his funeral, the Queen, presidents, prime ministers. But the most moving moment was the arrival of ordinary people. An old man, a former soldier, attended the funeral. A journalist asked, "What does Churchill mean to you?" The man replied with tears in his eyes, "I was at Dunkirk in 1940. We were going to die, but he saved us. Then he told us we shall never surrender, and we didn't. That's why I'm here today. That's why I'm free."
May 28, 1940. In a cabinet room, 15 men. 300,000 soldiers in mortal danger. A peace offer on the table, and one man, 65 years old, with cigars and whiskey, said no. That word changed the world, because sometimes in the darkest hour, one word is enough. Churchill taught us this. Freedom is not free. It requires courage. It requires stubbornness. And sometimes it requires being willing to stand alone. In the summer of 1940, Britain stood alone, but it was not defeated, because one man said no, and that no changed the course of history. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe. We keep history's unforgettable moments alive together, because sometimes the greatest victories are won not with weapons, but with words.